folks. Welcome back. Art of the City live streaming here from Solana Beach. We are having a really fun time today because our computer did not want to cooperate at all. But we're here now, and that's all that matters. And very pleased to be back. Our gallery is open, and we're very excited. I do have my mask in case somebody comes in, and we've had a couple people in already this morning. So the street's starting to come alive, and we are very excited. Only a couple restaurants are actually open, but at least, I think maybe this weekend they're getting prepped. So I hope you folks are going to have a great Memorial weekend. It is going to be one for the books. Something that we've never, ever experienced in our lives is this last going on 9 weeks, maybe even 10 weeks now. So, but to switch gears, I wanted to just invite you folks to check out the YouTube channel, Art of the City TV. We are starting to put some of the live streaming pieces that you've been watching up there so you can, in case you missed any. But I've also got this other series, which is a little bit more professionally done, where I go into artists' studios and I interview them and really kind of tell their backstory. I also pull in parts of the city, so you're going to be able to do a little travel there in case you haven't been to certain cities. Like I just finished with one in New Orleans. But prior to that, I had filmed 4 amazing artists in Santa Fe. So check it out when you get a chance. We're going to start releasing those slowly. And, the goal is, and you folks can help out with this as you share the channel, is to bring the arts to the world. So my end goal is to hopefully maybe be picked up by Netflix or Amazon or Discovery or someone, so that these artists, like the one I'm going to bring on today, they have a little bit more exposure, and also we get to hear their backstories while they're still on the planet like we are. So we're kind of documenting these great artists. So if you get a chance, take a look there and go ahead and like that page and share it. And I have a very special person coming on the show today. Thom and I, we've been friends for a very long time. He had his gallery in Hawaii on the North Shore for many, many years. He is an absolutely incredible artist in every sense of the word, because he has this ability to create on so many different levels with so many different subject matters, from figurative to wildlife, marine life, abstract. It kind of goes on and on. He does these beautiful sculptures that you're going to see. So he is live streaming from Las Vegas, and I would love to see if we can get Thom Madro to come on here. Let me see if I can get him. And we'll see if we can get him in the stream.
0.
And there he is. Thom, can you hear us okay?
All righty, I am here and alive. Oh my God!
Alive! Yay! Today was one of those challenging days. I don't know if it's like because everybody's out and about that the energy stopped coming into the gallery here to stream, but I'm sure glad we got you. So
no, I'm telling you, I have a thing. There's certain people know about this, that sometimes I can be walking down the street and the street lights go off. Computers blow up. I am not kidding. And you may be in San Diego and I may be in Vegas, but there's this weird thing that's been going on for years. It's kind of funny.
So it's all your fault. I thought maybe it was that Super Bowl ring that you had was, zapping the life out of everything.
Oh, it's funny. It's just, I don't get it with electronics, but you know what? It's all right. It works out in the end.
Thom, share with the folks your beginning of being an artist, because I remember coming into your most incredible studio in Las Vegas and seeing this piece on the wall that you had created as like almost a toddler.
Yeah, I was 18 months old. In fact, it's around here somewhere. This is my new studio that I'm from right now. But it's true. I was most of the time it's a blessing and obviously a gift. I was just fortunate enough that God gave me the gift of being able to create. And literally, and of course, I don't remember, obviously, I was just a baby, but the stories my parents would tell me is that, first of all, I never slept, ever, although I didn't cry. But what I did, I sat on my butt and drew from the time they could get a pencil or crayon in my hand. And I didn't even learn how to crawl. I
You were
just,
drawing before you were crawling?
I never did crawl. I sat on my ass. These are stories. I'm not kidding. In fact, my mom told me one time that I almost gave him a heart attack because I was just doing the normal thing. I was in the family room and my dad was drawing football plays and my mom was reading. And apparently I just looked around and stood up and walked away. So I kind of skipped all the in between stuff.
I'm not surprised.
And you
Because I
know,
see how
and
you relate. That doesn't
went from
surprise me at
sitting
all.
to walking, but that was it, and I've been doing it ever since. Don't get me wrong. There's been a number of times I tried to get out of the art because there's also a responsibility that goes along with it. I think when you're fortunate enough to be given something, there's a responsibility to try to do it to the best of your ability and really work at it. And I don't care whether it's art or athletics or music or anything for that matter, even cooking, whatever it happens to be. If
Right.
you're fortunate enough to really be blessed, it's a big responsibility. And sometimes, it weighed heavy on me and I just maybe I took it too seriously a lot of times and it would just get me eventually. And so, I stepped out a number of times, but, I always wind up back in it because it's what I do.
But when did
And
you, so I know that you were a born artist, but when did you progress into the professional side of it? I know you've got a very diverse background. Your dad was a coach. I can't remember.
yeah, he was a professional football coach.
Okay.
Um, in fact, actually, he started when I was born. He was a college coach. He coached at the University of Cincinnati in Ohio. And in 1954, took his first job in the National Football League with the Los Angeles Rams. And so, we used to make up the joke. And so we packed up the truck and we moved to Beverly. But that wasn't exactly the case because football coaches didn't get paid then like they do now.
Right.
In fact, I always say my dad's probably continually rolling over in his grave because his position, he'd be making $4 million a year or so, and I think his highest salary ever was $70,000.
Wow. And that might have
And
been a nice salary in the 50s. So,
well, but this was, the 70,000 came in the 90s,
I
and
see.
that was including a Super Bowl win, type
Okay.
bonus. So, I know in the mid 70s he was more like 35,000 a year with 5 kids.
But you do have
And
the ring, and that
oh yeah,
is so
yeah, he won
impressive.
championships.
Yeah,
In
it's
fact,
awesome.
in 38 years of coaching in professional leagues and actually 43 years coaching period, he had 2 losing seasons.
So, Tom, what did you extract from, the only reason I bring this up, because a lot of people are like, well, what does that have to do with your art and
Yeah.
your career? But I have found just interviewing artists, the way that you're brought up, whether your parents are artists or not, really influences your work ethic and your ability to create. What did you extract from your
I
dad?
was just going to say that's the thing. Like I said, in 43 years, my dad had 2 losing seasons. Now that's very unusual.
Mhm.
You lose a lot, but he had 2 seasons where they had a losing record. It had a lot to do with, and it's still to this day, the very successful coaches. My dad worked 7 days a week, between 12 and 20 hours a day, every day on football.
Wow.
Now, granted, he loved football. He loved the whole idea of even athletes and making them be able to do things that they didn't know they could do. That's the teaching part of coaching. But the point is, he worked his ass off. And
Right.
as parents, because I raised 2 girls, and it's not so much what you teach your kids or what you tell your kids, it's what they see on a daily basis. That's what they learn, and that's where they get their base. And so I watched him work, and my mom, she had 5 kids. That's from the sun coming up till way after it goes down. So these were very hardworking people. And like I always say, I trudge through it all because I just work. It's what I do.
And
And my
you
chosen
you
work
have
is art.
probably one of the greatest work ethics in the art industry. And there's never been a time that I've come into your studio where your easel wasn't set up and you were creating. So,
That even continues now. I've always got a few pieces going at all times, and a lot of other ideas. It's really funny. I thought by now, you got to remember when I was a child, dinosaurs, still walked the earth, and so I figured by the time I would reach this age, if I would reach this age, that it'd be a whole lot different. But it's funny. I have so much more that I want to accomplish.
and I love
And
that
it's
about you.
and so many different things. I I discovered. In fact, it was kind of funny because it wasn't too many years ago. I was looking at. There was a period of time when I just painted. I didn't have any business. I wasn't in galleries, and you even remember this time because I had retracted from everything. And
Right.
so for a couple of years, I did nothing but paint with no additional pressure of employees, making payroll, any of that. I was fortunate enough where I could sit back and paint. And I was a couple of years into that, and I was looking at some of the work. And, I've always been without a doubt, my worst critic. And I was looking at a couple of the pieces, and I thought to myself, Thom, if you keep doing what you're doing, now mind you, had already been doing it 40 something years, but it
Right.
was like, if you keep doing what you're doing, you might get good at this someday.
You're so funny,
And
Tom.
I caught myself saying, it was like this other voice talking to me, and then I knew it was me, but I started laughing hysterically because at that moment I realized, I always knew how tough I was on myself, but at that moment I went, boy, you really
Oh,
are,
that's true.
you
Let's see
might
what
get
you're working
good.
on, Tom. Let's take a look at your new studio, and show the folks, maybe a lot of folks on here I'm seeing, they know who you are, but for those who don't, let's give them a look at what you create and what you're
Okay,
working
well,
on
this new studio, it's called the Cathedral. It took over for the Fortress, which was the old one, and basically we're still setting it up. But in the front room of this incredible place, in fact, I'll switch the camera around because we've been hanging work because the front room's going to be kind of like a gallery. And I've got work from the past, like these ones here from the Rainbow Critter collection.
Oh, I love
Where it
those.
was
Tom, too,
really,
maybe you could do us a favor as you're showing, maybe just show one from each collection, get
oh,
up a little bit
sure.
close to it.
Okay. This one is a Rainbow Critter collection. It's called Amped Fabian. It's I think I love it because it's just funnier
Yeah.
than hell.
Look at those
These ones are
colors.
actually created for my kids. And then they weren't ever supposed to be shown because they were more cartoony, but, they took their own direction. Now, earlier than that, when I was more of a realist, this is like a ballet piece, and
Look at
you can
that.
see that far more photorealistic. Um, This is actually a piece that I just finished about maybe 2 weeks ago. Let's see if we can better here. Of a young lady in Hawaii who's a friend of mine.
Beautiful.
But as you can see, there's work everywhere. These are some dancer pieces, for example, um, which were vibrant expression pieces. And this one, and not to get political, but it's kind of funny because in 1972, I was still in college and I had to take a advertising art class. And so part of the project was to market if I was an art director. And so I wound up doing a whole thing on Richard Nixon. And this particular drawing, it's an ink drawing of Richard Nixon from 1972. It was the premiere piece in the Don't Taint, I probably shouldn't say this, but it's part of the story. The slogan for the reelection, which was CREEP, the Committee to Reelect the President, was Don't Change Dicks in the Middle of a Screw, Vote for Nixon in 72. Anyway, I got an F on the whole project, but it's still with me all these years later. Now, this here is actually the studio part, or my part of the studio in the cathedral. And as you can see, I've got a number of things going on.
Which you always do. You always, every time I come into your studio, not this one, but your studio in the past.
This one is a far more subtle piece. It's called Hiding in Plain Sight. And of course, it's one of my photoluminescent pieces and UV reactive. So under black light, it completely changes. It's not so much hiding anymore.
Oh, I love that.
And then there's a wolf piece over here that I'm actually putting some final details on. And it's the same kind of thing. It's got the nighttime view of the wolf.
So in the day, you get one view, and then just in regular, if you just turn out the lights, you'll get another view?
Absolutely. In fact, the photoluminescent part, even though it's daytime, I'll kind of show you, because that absorbs light. So in the dark, it even glows. You can see the eyes.
Incredible. How did you do that?
It was another one of the things back literally kind of in the hippie days when I used to do black light posters and I did album covers. And, that's way back. That's 60s and 70s. And I've always been fascinated by it. And probably 15 years ago, there was new formulations occurring in glow paints. And I even went to China and sourced out strontium powder in Beijing to make my own pigments. But, it goes on, because sometimes I think I'm a scientist more than I am an artist. But then the next part, I'll take you outside to what we can call the sculpture garden, but I prefer to call it the House of Clones. And you can see I've got a lot of the life cast sculptures, and this is where they live right now.
That's great.
Some painted, some unpainted, some pregnant, just a lot of stuff.
So,
and of course, this is like I said, this is part of it.
Are those body casts, are those all one of a kind then?
Every one of them is one of a kind, that's correct.
Okay.
And in fact, I'll go through this way just so you can see what I prefer to call my offices.
Oh, I see. You got a little leisure going on with your workspace there.
Absolutely. Especially in Vegas. You know what? When the studio gets too hot, nothing.
I think we're okay. Okay. Right.
But anyway, so we got a lot of plans for this place. And
so you moved out of your 10,000 square foot warehouse into this place so that you could become a little bit more intimate with your followers, correct?
That is correct. And it took forever to find a place because my art partner here, Dr. Michelle DeLauro, who is a ceramicist, and I mean a medical doctor, but she prefers ceramics, I think. And in fact, one of the areas out in back will be installing a kiln. We're also going to have classes here, different kinds of classes and seminars. So it's going to be a whole different kind of thing, especially for me, because as you know, over this 47-year period since my first one-man show, I literally work alone. In fact, that's why the fortress was kind of like Superman's fortress of solitude. It's because I worked with me, period. And in fact, that's another thing about the thing that's been going on recently, over the last 8, 9, 10 weeks. It didn't affect me so much because I've been locked in a studio for over 40 years every day.
Right. And it's funny because we've interviewed quite a few artists, and that has been the commentary, that they're used to working in solitude. The one thing that I did find from artists is that they really miss the interaction at the shows and being able to, they create these, like you do, these masterpieces, and it's almost like a chef creating this beautiful dinner with no one to partake. And it's very similar with musicians. Not
it has been different.
It's been tough on artists, I think.
Yeah, well, I canceled 3 shows, or when I say I canceled them, the gallery's closed.
Right.
What you gonna do? Um,
Can we see the pieces behind you?
oh, those were the dancer pieces.
Okay.
Um, but there's some others that, in fact, some pieces that. Let me try to get that. There's some pieces that were actually created. If you remember, I still have some of them left. With you in mind, when I was
Was that the
working with
Beatles
you.
series? We had the Beatles
Yeah, the
series
Rhythm and
in
Hues,
Breckenridge.
where like
We
these,
have, yeah, go ahead.
oh, I got to turn this around here. Yeah, like these ones.
Oh, I love those.
And here's another one here. This is the Let It Be piece. And of course, as you know with them, when the lights go out, once again, these ones glow and have a lot of hidden stuff in them. Like there's the Virgin Mary hidden in this one. That you don't see her in the regular painting, but
Right. I
there she
remember
is
that now.
hidden there. And in this one, there's Chairman Mao, or laughing my ass off Mao, hidden. And so there's a lot of different things. And of course, I've taken that technique and added it to, like, for example, this giraffe painting
Right.
in the dark. It does the same stuff.
Yeah,
So
those were really well received. We had them in Breckenridge, and then I don't know, everything shifted and we didn't have an opportunity to bring them back. But now we're here in Solana Beach. We've got a rather large gallery, so it might be a good time for us to bring those back in so folks can see them, because they are really detailed, and very impressive when you do shift the light. We'll have to set up a place where that could happen. But I
yeah,
always
and I'm still perfecting, and of course, I never have perfect pieces, so I'm always still perfecting, I guess you could say. But I just keep expanding on it. Once
Well,
there's an
you've
idea.
always been, you've never been at a loss for ideas. And,
No,
you can do anything. You do the figurative beautifully. I've seen some of your nudes, which are really incredible.
yeah, they're
Everything that you
upstairs.
do.
They're upstairs hanging. A lot of those ones are up there. In fact, those are what used to be called my Amanda Allgood collection. She was one of my good friends, Amanda, and she painted those. I didn't.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but actually, it's me. In
Oh,
fact,
I see. It was a
the way we
non-determined then.
came, the name itself, Amanda Allgood, because her name's Amanda Allgood. And
So
that
cute.
all came about because after the 2000, or leading into the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City, I had a deal with, I won't name the company, but it's a huge company. Um, and they all of a sudden were having issues of their own, that they were cheating on their taxes, da 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 da. And
Right.
so they found out that I also painted nudes, and so they canceled my contract based on a morals clause in the
I see.
contract, which I found very odd. But you know what? Stuff happens. But I
Well,
decided at that time that it would never happen again. So Amanda Allgood was born.
I was going to say, maybe, I don't know if you watch that Saul, a Better Call Saul, and maybe he took a page out of your book because he's Saul Goodman, and
Okay.
it's all good, man, is where it came
Yeah.
from. So I
Okay.
thought that's kind of cute. Well, what's your plans now, Tom? I know you had the gallery on the North Shore for how many years?
7 years, and we actually had 2 locations there. I have a gallery that I still have a partner and we own in Taiwan, up in
Okay.
Sun Moon Lake. Now, this is the new venture, which it's going to be interesting because uh, what has happened just in 2 months may have actually changed the face of art and art acquisition and a lot of things about it. We'll
I
see
agree.
how it rolls out, but we did this before that even started because our whole idea was to make it a more intimate experience for collectors.
I think
Both
that's where the art
older.
world is heading. And I think, we are talking about, like you, doing more farm to table events where we bring in
Yeah.
chefs and we have maybe a, limited group of people, but a little bit more intimate with the artists. And I think that may be, the new norm. We'll have to see, but it's
I know, it's
exciting
so
any way you
funny.
look at it.
I laugh because all of a sudden I go, see, I was ahead of the curve again without even knowing what I was doing, as usual. Yeah.
Yeah, you've always been kind of an innovator, and definitely, a wild card within the art industry because nobody could ever know where you were heading next, and you've definitely been a trendsetter. So I think
Well,
that,
I get a kick out of it too because I've never become Picasso because I do a really lousy job of marketing myself, but that's okay because I always felt it was as long as I made a living and got to do what I wanted to do, what better life could you have? Um, but there was a couple galleries, again, I won't mention which ones, that I would walk in and I'd notice certain things that I pioneered the techniques, and even the
right.
gallery director would say, "Hey Tom, look at this, look at this, look at this. You were only doing that 20 years ago." I'd be
Sure.
laughing
Well,
because
Tom,
I
one
don't.
of the questions I wanted to ask you is I've got a lot of artists watching here as well, aspiring artists that,
Mhm.
the world has changed. There's probably fewer galleries than ever. And I think that's just a result of, the retail environment anyway. What would you suggest to an artist who, is really maybe in their mid 20s, early 30s, they've gone through art school or maybe they're self-taught, but they're really trying to get their footing out there to be able to do this as a full-time job like you have for so many years? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I still think, and we brought it up earlier in this conversation, the one of the biggest keys is to work your ass off. Never be satisfied. Always try to be better. Always try to learn. Don't and this is not. I hope it isn't taken wrong by some artists that I know and know me and we're friends. But don't, when you find a particular painting that sells, don't spend the rest of your career painting that painting over and over again. Um, work at it. Work at your craft. Let your ideas go and be yourself. There's the thing. Now, the other part of it, and it's the part I'm not good at, but in this day and age, I think it's probably more important than ever, is trying to figure out how to get yourself out there, especially through social media. And
Yeah.
like I said, I am certainly not the expert at it, but I'm not supposed to be because, like I said, I'm a little too old for that. But
I'm right
if
there
you're in
with
your
you.
20s,
I'm working on it. That's why I'm doing this live
yeah,
streaming, is to keep us
I
out there.
just still think the key to everything
Right.
is to work. Really look at you, Ruth Ann. You never stop.
Thank you.
No, think about it though. Think about the fact that from the time you wake up to the time you pass out every day, this is what you do.
It's
You
like
are,
you. It's a passion. I don't have the
yeah.
talent that you have, but I have the passion for your talent. And that's
But
been my driving force.
you have talent of your own, and that's the key, is that you're a whirlwind, and that's why you're
Thank you.
successful. You know,
Well, like
it
you, Tom, I got that work ethic from my mother and father. And
yeah,
so that was ingrained in myself and my sister and hopefully in my daughter. She's a
yeah,
teenager now. So, it's
I
at
know
that
it's amazing.
wait and see kind of a thing. But I think she's going to have that. She is with her art, but I think it's learned, and you see it in your parents, and then you live it out.
Exactly. Yeah, we are. You know what? We may be known as humans, but we are certainly monkey see, monkey do.
It's
We
true.
just, that's the way it is. That's
Well,
how we
Tom,
learn.
when will you be ready to have folks reach out to you and start getting on your list if they're in Vegas and they want to have
I'm
this special
guessing
experience?
we're hoping to do some kind of event like midsummer, but we just
Okay.
want to. I mean, we'll never be complete here. Once again, just like everything else I do, we'll never
Right.
be complete, but we will be ready at a particular point, and I think ready is in about another month and a half.
Okay.
And we'll be cooking.
Can people contact you through a website,
Yeah,
Facebook?
actually, we just launched this one. I mean, you know, you can always go to Madro, MADRO.co, because that's
Okay.
.co, because that has the links to everything about me that even I don't want to know.
Okay.
But the latest website that just went up start of the week is thecathedralofart.com.
Okay, perfect. That's easy to remember too. And it is a cathedral. I saw we went through a little bit more of a in-depth yesterday, and I would love to come to one of your events myself.
Well,
So,
obviously you would be invited.
yeah, I'd love that.
You are one of the exclusive invitees.
Okay. That's perfect. Well, Thom, thank you so much for being on the show today. And I am so happy with your new move. I think it's a really good one. And I know folks are going to be so impressed. I mean, it's one thing seeing it through the screen, but it's another thing seeing it in person. So I really recommend folks go on there, get on his mailing list. And then when things open up and you're back in Vegas, you can time it so you can go to an event out there and meet this incredible artist and friend of mine in person.
Well, thank you for having me. It was really fun. You know,
All right.
it's almost like doing a show. You know, it's weird. It is weird not doing shows. You're right.
But it's going to come back. So in the meantime,
Yes, it
this
is.
is a good
Well,
start.
look, you're open. You're open, and you're in California.
We are.
That's
We're
amazing.
open, but people are a little. I think they're a little. I'm looking at the door right now. They're a little. Tentative would be a word,
Yeah.
I guess, about coming in, and I don't blame them. I've got my mask, and I think this weekend is a wait and see. Some people, obviously, probably the younger folks, they're going to be out at the bars, and I don't know how that works. Are they going to put a straw in the middle of the mask, or I don't know?
I have no idea. In fact, I think the reason in Vegas here that the casinos, they had planned on opening for this weekend, but I think they backed off it because they didn't want to have that. Honestly, they didn't want that many people to open with. So they're going to open next week.
Okay.
That way they can have a little better control of how they're going to do this. I mean, they all have plans on how they're going to do it, but plans and actual functionality are two different things.
Right. So it's a wait and see. Well,
Exactly.
Thom, you are one of my favorite artists. Be blessed. I'm so glad to have you on the show. And when things open up, we'll have to have you come down and do an artist appearance at the gallery as well.
I'd love to.
So we can,
I would love to.
have you come down.
Besides, Southern California is not a bad place to be.
It really isn't. Today is absolutely glorious. So, all right, my friend, be well. Blessings to you and your family. And we'll stay in touch. And I will definitely be reaching out to you in the next couple of weeks. Let's see how this all plays out, and then schedule you to come into the gallery.
Right on. You have a great Memorial Day weekend too.
Okay. Thank you, Thom.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, Thom Madro is one of those artists, folks, that your mind gets a little, when you go see his studio, your mind you can't take it all in, because his styles they go on and on and on, and he has such a range. But again, one of those artists I've known for a long time from back in Hawaii. I've been following his career. I had his work at our gallery in Breckenridge, and this was a perfect time to reconnect. So next week, we are starting again with a very nice lineup. One of the artists on the show will be Nano Lopez, and a lot of you folks know him for his sculpture. We have a couple of other artists that are yet to confirm, but I've got, I'll give the announcement on Monday. So don't miss it. 1 p.m. Art of the City live streaming here on Facebook. Be sure to share this with your friends. And go out there this weekend, folks, and have a great weekend. This is one of those weekends we're going to write down in the books. What were we doing when things started to open up for us? So I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope you're enjoying the show. Be blessed, and I will see you Monday.